This is a leaf of a common plant. Plant uses leaves to absorb light through the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis uses photons from the sun and convert them into sugar that plants use to grow. A leaf is made up of 5 main parts. The upper epidermis is the transparent outer layer of a plant. Its transparency allows light to be absorbed. The palisade is the area where most photosynthesis takes place. The spongy mesophyll in the plants store sugar and amino acids and help pick up carbon dioxide. It also contains the veins that allow for gas exchange. The lower epidermis is the bottom side of a plant containing guard cells and stomata. Stomata are pores on the plant which can collect and release water, carbon dioxide, and oxygen. The majority of the photosynthesis takes place in the palisade because it contains the most chloroplast. Chloroplasts are organelles in a plant cell, which undergo the photosynthesis process itself. Organelles are cell parts similar to a human's organ. The chloroplast is made up of grana, which contains a stack of fluid-filled discs called thylakoids. The grana is where the light is absorbed for photosynthesis. The thylakoid has proteins on the surface that capture light. It also separates the interior of the thylakoid, or lumen, from the fluid-filled space surrounding the thylakoid, called the stroma. The purpose of the stroma is to hold nutrients such as phosphorus. The lumen's purpose in the thylakoid is to store hydrogen ions and keep them from spreading out into the stroma, which is what the hydrogen ions want to do because of their positive charge. Instead, the ATP synthase proteins in the thylakoid membrane control their release. In the light-dependent reaction of photosynthesis, the sun sends down photons that excite a proton in the thylakoid. When this happens, an electron is broken off the protein called photosystem II. Without an electron, the protein tries to find another and ends up splitting a water molecule apart to take its electron. Without its electron, the water molecule can't hold together, so it splits into an oxygen, which is expelled from the plant, and hydrogen with a positive charge, which is then stored in the lumen. Electrons broken off from the photosystem II protein are pushed through the electron transport chain and a series of proteins that are filled with chlorophyll. All of the positive hydrogen that is built up in the lumen only has one place to go. They are forced through a protein called ATP synthase that bonds ADP with an extra phosphate, turning it into ATP. The spare electron from photosystem II is then used in a protein called photosystem I to bond NADP with an extra hydrogen to make NADPH. Now the ATP and the NADPH are in the stroma and they can be sent to the Calvin cycle. At the start of the Calvin cycle, there is a 5-carbon molecule called RUBP. When a carbon dioxide enters the cycle through the stoma, it bonds with RUBP using the Rubisco enzyme, creating an unstable 6-carbon molecule, which immediately breaks into 2 3-carbon molecules. The high energy from the ATP and the NADPH is then used to split the 3-carbon molecules into G3P. You are then left with ADP and NADP, as well as an extra hydrogen and phosphate, which are then sent back to light-dependent reaction of photosynthesis. G3P is what the plant uses to create sugars like glucose. However, not all the G3P is turned into sugars. Most of it continues through the cycle, and it turns back into RUBP. For every 6 G3P made, only 1 gets turned into glucose. One of the potential problems with photosynthesis is photorespiration. Photorespiration is what happens when there's not enough carbon dioxide available. Instead, the plant attempts to use oxygen. It gets bonded by Rubisco, but instead of turning into G3P, it turns into an unusable chemical, causing the plant to use up unnecessary energy to create something it can't use. This often happens when it's too hot outside. When the leaf's stoma is opened, it allows carbon dioxide to enter the leaf, but if it's too hot outside, the water inside the leaf evaporates. For this reason, plants have a guard cell that keeps the stoma closed when it's too hot. Plants that live in naturally hot climates have adapted to keep photorespiration from occurring. Many of them will only open their stomata at night and will create some sort of storage method for carbon dioxide inside the leaf.